Hello everybody, hope you are doing really well. I'm CA Supreet Agrawal, your faculty for ACCA AA and AAA subjects. My friends, today we are going to revise chapter number 19 of your ACCA AA syllabus, which is audit sampling. My friends, this particular topic is driven by ISF 530, which talks about the sampling part. My friends, this chapter is very important for your double examination. And why I am saying that? Because my friends, what happens is you have already discussed in inherent limitations of audit that one of the inherent limitations is that we are not able to test 100% of the items, right? Now, why we are not able to test 100% of the items? Because as per the standards, we are required to take out the samples. Now, what are the technical articles about this sampling part, and what is the technical guidance? How do we need to take out these samples? What are various methods? We are going to revise everything today. Okay, and we are also going to discuss about what are the key pointers that could be asked in the examination. Also, at the end, I have given a bonus for you, so please try to be with me till the end of the video. Okay, so my friends, the name of the chapter is audit sampling. The name of the chapter is audit sampling. Now, objectives is something that we have already discussed about, so we are not going to indulge any more into it. Now, let's talk about what the topics that we are going to discuss. So, the first topic that we are going to discuss is selection of samples. Then the second topic that we are going to discuss is the terminologies. Then we are going to discuss about statistical sampling, and we are also going to discuss about non-statistical sampling. My friends, please try to understand this one thing, that we are going to revise everything in very detailed mode, yet with the minimal time investment, and that is why I am keeping my pace a little fast. Okay, wherever you feel trouble, please feel free to reach out to me to discuss any of your queries. Okay, then we are going to discuss about the stages. Then we are going to discuss about, once we are finished with the stages, then we are going to go for the projecting message statements. How do we project the message statements to the entire population? And once we finish that, our chapter would be done. Okay, so this is the core about chapter number 19, which is audit sampling. Okay, so please be with me till the end of the video. So first question is that we will be getting these notes or not? So yes, you will be getting these notes. You can access my Telegram channel by the name of ACCA with CA Supreet Agrawal, and you will be getting these notes as well. Okay, now will we be solving the questions also? So yes, we will be solving the question, but that would not be part of the YouTube video, that would be part of our crash course video. Okay, now let's discuss about selection of samples. So my friends, what do we mean by selection of samples? So selection of samples could be any or combination of, that is what do we mean by it? We can select any one option, or we can select one or more options simultaneously or together as well. So selecting all items, that is 100% testing. Now this could be done for those items or for those population which has a small number of items, which has less number of items, or which has more riskier items, so we can do that. Then selecting specific items. Now this is also generally called as key items, and why it is selected, why certain key items are selected. So for example, some particular sample has not followed the due process, some particular sample has crossed the monetary limit that is set by the auditor, so that particular selected items could be there. And third thing is audit sampling, on which this full standard, this full chapter is dependent upon. Audit sampling, what is audit sampling? Testing less than 100%. 99.90% is also covered, yes. So even if you have taken 99.90% samples, it would still be called as audit sampling only, because 0.10% you have left out. So anything less than 100% is called as sampling. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now there are certain terminologies that are important here. Anomaly as an outlier, which is not representative of the population. Sometimes what happens is there is anomaly, there is any outlier which has been identified, but it is not representative of the population. That is called as anomaly. So message statement in case of TOD, and deviation in case of TOC. I hope you have already studied about TOD and TOCs. TOD is majorly for the testing of the items, whereas TOC is majorly for the testing of the controls, right? So when I talk about TOC, if there is any message statement that has been identified, it is called as deviation. And whenever I talk about TOD, if there is any difference that has been identified, it is called as message statement. Okay, so that is demonstrably not representative of the message statement or deviations in the population. So the keywords here are not representative of the population, that is known as anomaly. Then when I say population, so population means entire set of data. So for example, if I have 1 to 100 items, 100 items are there, and I have taken out 2 items as samples, so that 100 would be called as the population. Then when I say sampling risk, what is sampling risk? So the conclusion that has been derived by verifying the samples, and the conclusion that would have been derived if the audit procedure were subjected or the audit procedure were applied to the entire population. The risk that these two conclusions might be different is called as sampling risk. In simple words, we can say the risk that the conclusion derived by verifying the samples and the risk and the conclusion that would have been derived by verifying the entire population, that is called as sampling risk. What is non-sampling risk? What is non-sampling risk? Non-sampling risk is risk that is driven by any factor other than the size of samples. Now when I say sampling risk, so see, sample may be different, conclusion on sample may be different from conclusion that would be reached if the entire population was subjected to the same audit procedure. Non-sampling risk, erroneous conclusion for any reason not related to the sample size. Tolerable misstatement that auditor can tolerate, that is that the misstatement that auditor could accept, the misstatement that auditor could accept without modifying the audit opinion or without changing the parameters. So highest monetary amount of misstatement that the auditor could accept and still conclude that the population is not materially misstated. Okay. Now tolerable misstatement cannot exceed performance materiality. What is performance materiality? We have already discussed it under the materiality chapter. So your tolerable misstatement cannot exceed the performance materiality, the materiality that has been discussed or that has been decided at a lower level than the overall materiality for the FS. Okay, it could not be less than that. Then statistical sampling and non-statistical sampling. Now when I say statistical sampling and non-statistical sampling, what do I mean by it? Statistical sampling is any sampling which uses these two parameters. Number one, sample is selected on random basis, and second one is it uses probability theory, that is random sample selection is there and probability theory is used over there. Okay, and it prevents haphazard and block selection because these two are considered as non-statistical methods. Okay, there was a slip of tongue, sorry. Now non-statistical, so any approach which does not fulfill all conditions. Okay, so even if one is left out, will it be called as non-statistical? Yes. Even if one condition is left out, it would be called as non-statistical. Okay, it includes non-random selection and evaluating results on a judgment basis. Okay, then stages. So there are 5 stages. This is one core part of this particular chapter which could be asked in the examination. So sample design is there, sample size is there, sample selection is there, performing audit procedures is there, which is called as testing, and then evaluating of results or evaluation of results. When I say design, so there are certain matters that needs to be considered. Number one is objective of the test, what objective you are trying to achieve. Then nature of audit evidences, is it more reliable, is it less reliable, whether population is complete, because sometimes what happens is you might take out these samples from the incomplete population, and then after verifying these samples you will not be able to conclude on the entire population because these are not representatives. Characteristics of the population, is the population clean, or are there any characteristics that tells us that the population is not reliable or the population has certain adjustments that needs to be done. What will be regarded as a deviation or misstatement, that is what amount of difference would be regarded as a deviation or misstatement. For example, a difference of say 0.1 rupees in the invoice amount and the actual amount, or a difference of say 10 rupees in certain cases might not be called. For example, there are certain cases where rounding off happens, so that would not be called as misstatement or deviation, right? So whether the approach will be statistical or non-statistical, that is the sample selection method would be statistical or non-statistical. Then let's talk about the sample size. So should be sufficient to reduce sampling risk to an acceptably low level. What if you have selected certain samples, what if you have selected certain sample size, but you feel that it is not appropriate, so you can revise it also. But generally, lower the acceptable sampling risk, higher would be the amount of samples or higher would be the size of samples. Okay, it could be determined statistically or using professional judgment also. Now let's talk about the selection. So all sampling units must have a chance of selection, that is there should not be any sampling unit as in one item of the population. Every sampling unit should have a chance of selection. There should not be any unit which does not have any chance of selection. Okay, now methods. Random selection could be there. Random selection as in some tool could be used, or auditor could select on the professional judgment. Systematic or interval selection, every 20th item could be there. Say every 20th, every 30th item could be there. Okay, every nth interval. Then haphazard selection could be there. Haphazard selection means what? That there is no structure is there, no structured method. Okay, no structured method. When I say block sampling, it means adjacent items are there. The keyword is adjacent. Adjacent items are there. Adjacent as in 1 to 20, 1 to 20, 1 to 40, etc. Monitoring unit sampling, that is value weighted weights. That is an item with higher chance. Value weighted weights, that is an item with higher amount has more chances of getting selected. Now let's discuss about each one of them. Random selection, selected using random number tables or a computerized number generator. Then systematic interval selection uses constant interval every 20th say. Monitoring unit sampling every unit has chance of selection, and likelihood depends on value weights. Haphazard, no structure, does not follow a structure technique. Block selection adjacent are there, say 1 to 20. Now let's talk about the testing part. So how do we test it? So appropriate audit procedure must be performed on the selected items, that is on the sample. Selected items as in sample. Appropriate audit procedure could be performed. What do we mean by this appropriate audit procedure? It could be any procedure out of ACCA ORR, right? Inspection could be there, confirmation could be there, analytical procedure could be there, inquiry could be there, observation could be there, recalculation could be there, and reperformance could be there. Now, if an inappropriate item is selected, inappropriate item that is not representative of the population is selected, then what you can do? You have to justify it, and then you can select the alternative sample. Okay. If planned procedure cannot be applied, if planned procedure cannot be performed on the selected sample, then you can perform the alternative procedure. If alternative procedure could not be performed, then you can do what? Then you can identify it as a deviation or a misstatement. Okay. I hope this is clear. Now, evaluation of results. How do you evaluate the result? That is very, very important for us to understand. How do you evaluate the result? So the sampling risk should be reassessed. Sampling risk should be reassessed if projected and uncorrected anomalous misstatement exceed the tolerable deviation or misstatement. Now it could happen in case of test of controls, in case of test of details also. What is the meaning of this projected? So projected will be discussed later in the next page. Will be discussed in next page. But when I talk about uncorrected, so this is identified but not corrected by management. Identified but not corrected by management. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now let's talk about test of controls and test of details. If controls do not appear to be operating effectively, then what you have to do? You have to modify the procedures. What modified procedure you can perform? Extend the sample size. You can extend the sample size. Say you have taken 20 samples, now you can move to 40 samples. Test alternative controls. What you can do? Sometimes the same risk is mitigated by 2 or more controls. Then you can go to the mitigating controls, you can go to the alternative controls and test it. If those are performing well, then there is no major issue. Extend substantive procedures. We have already discussed that if the results of the TOC is not reliable or not effective, then we have to extend our substantive procedures. Now test of details. If misstatements exceeds tolerable misstatement, then request management to adjust for identified misstatements. That is, if your overall misstatement is exceeding the tolerable misstatement, then what you can do? You can ask the management, or you can request the management to modify it and reevaluate uncorrected misstatements. Once management has modified it, or maybe they have decided not to modify it, you have to reevaluate what is the uncorrected misstatement part and whether you need to modify your report or withdraw from the engagement or take alternative actions or not. This is what is about evaluation of results. Now let's talk about projecting misstatements that we have discussed about here. Projected misstatements, right? So let's discuss about here. See, what happens is you verify the population. Okay, say population size, say population. Please understand this example very, very nicely. Okay, say population size is say rupees 1 lakh. Population size is rupees say 1 lakh. Okay, now you have said that isolated misstatements, MS stands for misstatements. Isolated misstatements is say 10,000. Isolated misstatements is say 10,000. Isolated misstatements is say 10,000. Okay, you have identified that actual misstatements other than isolated, of course, actual misstatements are say 5,000. Actual misstatements are say 5,000. Actual misstatements are say 5,000. Okay, you have taken the sample value. You have tested the samples. You have tested the sample say 20,000. You have tested the sample say 20,000. Okay, now by verifying this 20,000 worth of samples, you have identified that there are misstatements of 5,000. So what would be the misstatements in the entire population? So what you can do? You can say that 5,000 misstatements have been identified in 20,000 population. Then what would be the misstatements in 90,000? But sir, there should be 1 lakh, right? No, 1 lakh minus isolated. 1 lakh minus isolated. So this, whatever this amount comes up, that would be called as your projected misstatements. Is it right? No. Why? Because see, you also have to add this amount plus isolated. So what is this amount? 5,000 divided by 20,000, that is 0.25. 90,000 divided by 0.25, how much it would be? 22,500. So 22,500 plus 10,000 isolated, that is 32,500 would be called as your projected misstatements. Okay, so now monetary misstatements that is derived from TOD in the sample indicate misstatements in the population should be projected to the population to estimate the should be projected to the population. This is exactly like extrapolation that you have studied in FM or AFM, right? Now, isolated misstatement should not be extrapolated. Isolated misstatement should not be extrapolated. In our case, 10,000, right? Monetary misstatements that we have discussed about, this is 5,000 in our case, right? Now, the effect of the projected misstatement should be considered to see if any additional work needs to be undertaken. Let's discuss about one more example. Population is 1 lakh, sample value 20,000, isolated misstatement 10,000, actual misstatement 15,000. Okay. Now, projected misstatements are there. So, actual misstatements divided by sample value into population value. Exactly what we have done. Actual misstatement 15,000, actual misstatement 15,000 divided by 20,000 because this is the value that we have derived. Let's mark it over here. So, this 15,000 is this actual misstatements. This 20,000 is this, and this 90,000 is 1 lakh is determined from this and 10,000 from this. That is how 67,500 plus 10,000, 77,500 is the misstatement. With this, we have completed this particular chapter. Now, let's discuss about some important pointers over here. So, will these notes be available? Will these notes be available? Yes. Will these notes be available? Yes. Okay, where? So, you can contact me on Telegram, Instagram or YouTube by the same username ACCA with CA Supreet Agrawal. Okay, you will find these notes on Telegram. I'll upload it just now, so you will find these notes on Telegram. Okay, ACCA with CA Supreet Agrawal. Okay, this is something that you should understand. And when you will be finding these notes, if you have any queries, please feel free to reach out to me on Instagram, or you can, if you have enrolled for a crash course, you can also post your queries on the live app. Now, when I talk about the questions, will we be solving the questions? So yes, questions will also be solved. Will it be from Hub? Yes. Study Hub plus BPP? Yes, plus Kaplan. Okay, so we will be solving these questions as well. You can enroll for a crash course batch on www.bbvirtualsglobal.com. Okay, you can do that, and we will be solving the questions of this particular chapter as well. We have already uploaded the lectures over there. Okay, so I hope this is clear and you have already understood the chapter, you have revised this chapter. Just in case if you face any trouble, please feel free to comment, and please like this video, subscribe to our channel and share this video with all of your ACCA aspirants in your connections. Thank you so much. See you in the next session. Thank you.